Genocide Prevention, Adama Dieng, has warned that South Sudan is at risk of plunging into an outright ethnic war and genocide. Speaking to the media, wrapping up a 5-day visit to South Sudan this week, Dieng said the purpose of the visit was to better understand the landscape of ethnically fueled violence, including hate speech and incitement to violence, and to provide assistance where requested. His trip also included visiting Ye River State, which, until recently, had been spared the widespread violence of other areas. But Dieng said he heard reports of violence that included targeted killings, assault, maiming, mutilation, rape, and the barbarous use of machete to hack families to death.
I'm dismayed to report that what I have seen, what I have heard, has confirmed my concerns that there is a strong risk of violence escalating along ethnic lines with the potential for genocide.
South Sudan gained independence from Sudan in 2011, but war broke out in 2013 between forces loyal to President Salva Kiir and those of former Vice President Riek Machar. A peace deal signed in 2015 failed to stick, and fighting in Juba flared up in July, prompting Machar to flee after returning to the capital just a few weeks earlier. Dieng said that during the course of this week, he has seen that there is extreme polarization between some tribal groups, which has increased in certain places since the outbreak of violence in July. According to him, inflammatory rhetoric, stereotyping, and name-calling have been accompanied by targeted killings and rape of members of particular ethnic group, and by violent attacks against individuals or communities on the basis of their perceived political affiliation, and the media, including social media, are being used to spread hatred and encourage ethnic polarization, and letters threatening specific groups have surfaced in the last month.
I heard reports of violence that included targeted killings, assault, maiming, mutilation and rape by armed men, some in uniform and others not. There were cases of the barbarous use of machete, which remind me the 100 days in Rwanda. Conversation with all actors have confirmed that what began as a political conflict has transformed into what could become an outright ethnic war.
Dieng says he will inform the international community of his assessment, call for action, and speak with members of the African Union and the Security Council. More than 6.1 million are in need of aid, according to the International Organization for Migration.
In the meantime, Japan has just approved a plan for its troops to be deployed to South Sudan on UN peacekeeping operations. This plan comes amid concerns that the move risks embroils Japanese soldiers in the first overseas fighting since World War II. The new mandate, which will apply to troops to be dispatched to South Sudan from November the 20th, is in line with security legislation enacted last year to expand the overseas role of Japan's self-defense forces, as the military is known. Under the new mission, the Japanese troops will respond to urgent calls from UN staff and non-governmental organization personnel. A civil conflict erupted in South Sudan in December 2013. Away from South Sudan, the UN says it's concerned by new rules in the Democratic Republic of Congo requiring international broadcasters to register as local firms or have their transmissions cut. The new rules came into effect over the weekend. Foreign media companies can now only operate in DR Congo with a majority of Congolese stakeholders. Officials have given such outlets 30 days to come into line. The measures mostly affect broadcasters like Radio France International, The Voice of America and the BBC. RFI's signal is currently blocked and has since it's been reported on a planned opposition protest due to take place earlier in the month. Elections were due to take place in DR Congo this month but have been delayed until April 2018. And in South Africa, the main opposition party has filed a criminal complaint accusing President Jacob Zuma of corruption after an anti-graft watchdog agency released a report listing allegations of influence peddling in his government. The report, titled State of Capture, stopped short of reaching conclusive findings against the president, some of his ministers, and heads of state-owned companies. This has put Zuma into the latest crisis of his scandal-plagued presidency. The affair has rattled markets in Africa's most industrialized economy, which faces the risk of ratings downgrades later this year, and given even more ammunition to the opposition to try to unseat Zuma.
With the police here, we've opened a case against President Jacob Zuma. We believe the case number is been issued to us already. It's case number 70/11/2016. Our affidavit has already been compiled with the police. The steps that will take place from henceforth are such that priority crime must then take its own full action here. The police station here will compile the affidavit, the docket, so that it's handled by the provincial police. We will not rest until, in fact, Jacob Zuma accounts for what we believe are very strong criminal acts. These are acts of corruption which steal away from the livelihood of the people of our country. I have faith in the belief that the provincial office will take this matter. We will not rest. I'll take the matter further on in Parliament, and I want to make sure that the criminal elements will ensure that Jacob Zuma is prosecuted. Members of the group.
Over now to Chad, where a coalition of civil society organizations is demanding that the death penalty be abolished. It was dropped from the criminal code in 2014 but reintroduced last year under a special anti-terror law. A dozen alleged members of Boko Haram were executed under the anti-terror law in September 2015 in connection with a suicide attack carried out in June 2015 on a school and the Central Police Station in the capital in N'Djamena. The activists are calling for the abolition of over fears that the authorities could abuse the anti-terror law to settle political scores. Still to come on the program, Africans remain optimistic despite corruption and economic woes, and that's according to a survey. Please stay with us.